Welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, let's talk about being correct, but not right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. My name is Kale Houser. If we have not been introduced, the owner and co-founder of Kale Houser Leadership, where we help small businesses with their employment issues, perhaps, as well as building amazing cultures to where their teams actually want to be there and want to help your business grow and turning you into that kind of leader that people want to work for, in a nutshell, amongst other things. Make sure you check out kalehouser.com as well as kalehouserleadership.com. Probably more kalehouserleadership.com. We've got an amazing PDF that's yours for free to check out. It is just some amazing 10x interview questions that you can use if you're struggling, especially in this area of as you're getting people to show up for interviews and you're like, what do I even ask them, to try to figure out and weed out the ones that just aren't going to work for your business and your company. So those are some great primers and interview questions that you can add to your repertoire, and I would highly encourage it so you can start picking and finding and choosing the right people for your business. But today I want to talk about this concept of being correct, but not right. And you may be thinking, well, aren't those two one and the same types of things? Being correct and being right are the exact same things. And the reality is, no, it really isn't. Because correct, when you use that word correct, you're implying a concept of facts. Like these are solid things. These are indisputable. These are laws of nature. Those are correct, right? The law of gravity is correct. But then when you add the word right to it, that implies that's a little bit more subjective. Okay, we have a Bill of Rights. We have, things in our laws that guarantee certain inalienable rights to our life. But rights imply the application of those facts to your life, to your situation. And just because that may be true over here, it doesn't mean that is the right for you or it is the right course of action to do those things. We see this a lot in popular culture in the sense of, it is a common belief and a correct belief that you grow up, you get good grades in high school, you go to college, you get good grades, you get trained for whatever job, you go out and find a good job, and you work the rest of your life until you hope to someday retire, and then live your retirement years and etc. etc. And that would be a correct way of thinking in the North American sense of the term. But that's not necessarily the right way for everybody. Some people, yes, they do that path. Other people, they go off and they join a service, or they go become missionaries and they live out in the jungle somewhere serving people. Other people, build businesses and become entrepreneurs and do different things. And even though it is correct that maybe, yes, it gives them the best opportunity or chance, whether they're going to college or whatever that is, it's not necessarily right for their life. And this was brought to my attention again as part of Funnel Hacking Live, one of the presenters. And honestly, I don't quite remember which one. It was one of the... I forget who it was now, darn it. It was one of the female gals, and she was talking about her career, essentially. The correctness of her life had come to a close through some event, and I forget what it was. It wasn't like super tragic, but she had this life-altering moment, as most entrepreneurs do, and she ended up packing up, moving all her stuff to New York City, i.e. one of the, if not the most expensive cities on the entire planet, and certainly in America, to start over and develop this new business. And her mom was telling her, like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're spending all this money on this apartment and living in the most expensive city. Why don't you come live in my basement? And, you just no rent, and you just help pay for food, and we can be together, right? There was this whole, like, going back to your parents' house and that safety. And what she was offering was absolutely correct, because this gal was in a position where she had limited funds. She had no job, no career. She is living on savings. And anytime, it's kind of correct thinking. Anytime if you're living on a limited or a set amount of anything, you kind of go into conservation mode, and you look at that as like, how can I make this last as long as possible, versus, oh, I'm just going to go out and, buy the most expensive thing or spend my time in the most unwise way. But for her, she made this statement. She's like, what my mom was saying and what she was offering for me was absolutely correct. Anyone in their right mind would have taken her up on that offer. It made total sense. But for her, she says, but it wasn't right. she needed to get out of her previous environment and into that environment. And for her, it was New York City. She needed to be in that environment. And there was probably some previous experience that had drew her to that in order to turn on her entrepreneurship and create this amazing business that she did go on to create. And she's like, had I taken my mother up on her offer and moved into her basement, as a young adult or a middle-aged adult woman, she says, I probably would have stayed there the rest of my life and done nothing with my life. And it was so interesting that this small nuance in the term between correct and not right, because she made the statement of, yes, my mother was correct, but she was absolutely not right. And I want you to think about that as you're going through your daily everything. It could be things that are happening to you and the decisions that you make. Are they correct decisions in the form of, yes, it is correct and in this case, right to pay your taxes and submit your work permits and, get all the things you need to do aligned to legally be in business and all those types of things, especially if you've got, a legal or litigation type heavy business. But are doing these other things, even though they may be correct, are they right for you? It may be correct for you to put ads in Indeed or on Indeed, or correct for you to put ads in Craigslist or go to trade shows and do those types of things. But is that the right model for your business to find amazing employees? Or is there some other avenue that you haven't explored yet that can expose you to finding and hiring and attracting and retaining these amazing employees? But this can be applied to so many different areas of your life. It just depending on your situation. As with most things, the answer is depends, because we all have 1,000 different, outcomes and inputs and data points that we can analyze and dissect. But really, it comes down to, yes, you've looked at it, you've analyzed, like, yes, this is the correct decision, but is it the right decision for our business? Is it the right decision for me as a leader? Is it the right decision? It may be the correct decision to take that top salesman, that top performer, that top, person, that technician, and everything is pointing like, yes, it is the correct decision to promote them as the leader, to promote them as the department head, as the sales manager, all those things. But is it the right decision? Is that the right person for that? Yes, they may have the qualifications, but do they have the right personality? Do they even want to do it? Is that a career path they want to be on with the increased responsibility and the different roles and responsibilities they would have for that new position? And those are things you really have to get out of the sense of, well, yeah, it's correct, so it must be right. Because I think we all say that. Well, this is correct, so it must be right. And that's so lazy. It is so lazy to say that. Well, this is the correct course of action, so it must be right. Well, that's just not true. Yes, there are times where it is true that, yes, that is the right decision. Boom, absolutely. It's like it's a no-brainer. Okay, that's the best health for your company, the best direction to take it. But is there some other path that, maybe is a little off the beaten path type of thing, a little unusual, a little different from the rest of your marketplace? That's where the real innovation, that's where the real game changers enter the industries, is when they look at things, they say, okay, this is the path. This is the normal path of somebody in my business. We do this, this. And it's just check mark, right? The corporate ladder, quote unquote. But it's when people get out of that and saying, okay, I see the correct path that should get me the result that I'm maybe looking for over here, the business I want to build. Is there another way I can do that? Because this doesn't work for me. I don't like doing it that way. I don't want to do those things that people before me had done. I want to do my own thing. And for you, even though it may be against convention, that is the right path for you to be on. And like I said, this could be something that, in a sense, that as the leader of your business, that you're taking your business, you may be going over here in this alternate pathway, but it could also be with how you deal and treat with your people, the consequences you impose. It could easily say somebody, that maybe is not performing well. The correct decision would be like, all right, warning 1, warning 2, written, retraining, boom, bounce them. That might be the absolutely correct decision, but it is the right decision. Is there something that you're seeing even further potential despite these setbacks, like maybe they were extenuating circumstances, whatever, without making excuses for that person and encouraging their poor behavior or poor performance? Is it the right thing to maybe continue to love on them, to continue to invest in them? because you see that potential and they have that potential, even though they've had these other setbacks. You see what I mean? There could be absolutely two different kinds of pathways that you can look at this. So that's something I want you to think about is, correct and right. Well, ideally, we want those two terms to be absolutely aligned with each other and mean one and the same. But the reality is that's not necessarily all the case, all the time the case, and them being cohesive in nature, if that makes sense. So take a moment to think about that, what you've got going on, how you've gotten to where you're at currently, and was it the right path for you to get there? And doing the same things, will it get you where you want to be? In the sense of, could be as simple as, your revenue goals or your client list, all those types of things. Is that the correct and the right choice for you? Cool. So please make sure, hit kalehouserleadership.com. Let me know what you think. If it's garbage and you're like, this is the stupidest website ever, please let me know. Drop a comment on whatever platform you're listening to. I read all of them and I will absolutely respond and get back with you. And I accept constructive criticism to the fullest. So I appreciate that time and effort. No matter where you're at in the world, have a fantastic afternoon. Bye.